paid witnesses, witnesses who've lied in the past, witnesses who've gotten new identities, witnesses who've sold drugs, witnesses who've killed people.
For the moment, Gotti was a media superstar. He savored his celebrity.
You know, I always feel good.
The whole story of John Gotti took on a life of its own, and you know, I've often said that the media created the superstar John Gotti, because basically we just chased him and chased him. The more he smirked, the more we chased him.
And he made one remark that really stuck out in my head. He said he didn't seek out the media, they sought him out. He was the kind of personality that the media was attracted to. He didn't go saying, wow, I want to be on television, or I want to do this. They wanted to meet him.
Now that he was the boss, Gotti moved his place of business to the Ravenite Social Club in Manhattan's Little Italy.
And he says, hey, I ain't gonna hide from nobody. I ain't no laid-down Sally like that old boss Castellano. I'm gonna go to Manhattan. I ain't gonna be hiding from nobody. And you know, we're gonna do business.
The rank-and-file Gambino soldiers saw Gotti as one of them, a hard-working soldier who had fought his way to the top, a welcome change for those who had felt slighted by Paul Castellano.
He was great for morale. You know, he made wise guys feel like wise guys again. He brought back a lot of that esprit de corps that Castellano, and even Gambino to some extent, had seeped out of the family.
On the business side, it was a prosperous time for Gotti and the Gambino family. The rackets were earning the family $500 million a year. Much of the success was due to Gotti's consigliere, or senior advisor, Salvatore "Sammy the Bull" Gravano, a thick-necked, gravel-voiced contractor who watched over the old family interests in construction.
He was one of my best friends. We played paddleball one time. He hit the ball. I thought the wall was going to break. He hit it a ton. Wow. The ball broke, as a matter of fact, but Sammy was very, very strong. That's why they call him Sammy the Bull.
It's a little bit surprising that John Gotti would have picked Sammy Gravano. Sammy was someone who did have a little bit on the ball, was young enough to be a threat to John Gotti. But I guess John Gotti never thought that Sammy Gravano would take him down.
Gotti treated Gravano as a brother, someone he could trust with his life.
He always talked about hating rats. Sammy's rhetoric always downrated rat, rat, rat.
On FBI tapes, Gotti let Gravano know just how much he cared for him.
For Christ's sake, I love you more. I love myself. For Christ's sake, I love you more than you. I'll give you myself.
To the public, Gotti made himself the most visible mob boss since Scarface Al Capone. His perfectly coiffed hair, $2,000 suits, and frequent appearances at New York's hottest night spots painted a picture of a bygone mafia era.
When John Gotti walked into a restaurant, it was an event. 10 people walked into that restaurant. A cashmere coat over his shoulders, dressed impeccably. Everybody stopped and looked around.
He began to believe that he was all-powerful. You know, in one conversation, he and Sammy Gravano were sitting at a table in a restaurant, and John turned to Sam and he said, hey, look at those people over there. They're smiling at me. They love me. And sure enough, Gravano looks over, and there are two young, recently married people looking at John Gotti in awe. The guy gets up and says, hello, Mr. Gotti, I really wanted to meet you. I think you're great. And goes back and sits down. And John Gotti tells Sammy, see what I tell you? Everybody loves us.
In January 1989, Gotti was indicted again, this time for ordering the shooting of a construction union agent, John O'Connor. 4 years earlier, O'Connor had sent union thugs into this restaurant to destroy the work of non-union labor. Only the restaurant turned out to be owned by the Gambinos. O'Connor was shot 4 times in the buttocks.
John O'Connor was shot because John Gotti ordered it to teach him a lesson.
To prove its point, prosecutors played surveillance tapes of Gotti repeating O'Connor's address over the phone.
608, John O'Connor. John O'Connor, 608, 16 something Broadway.
And then a garbled sentence the prosecution said was bust him up. The jury was left with reasonable doubt.
How say you with respect to defendant John Gotti, guilty or not guilty?
We find him not guilty.
Gotti was free again and held a fireworks display in Little Italy to celebrate. But the feds were still listening and waiting for the right moment to pounce. As the 1990s began, John Gotti seemed to be making good on his reputation as the Teflon Don. But he did not count on the betrayal of his closest ally, Sammy the Bull Gravano. On December 11th, 1990, Gotti, Sammy the Bull, and John's underboss, Frank Locascio, met for dinner at the Ravenites Social Club. FBI agents were waiting in a car across the street. They had enough taped evidence to bring Gotti and company to trial again. The three men were arrested just after 6:30 p.m. Gotti faced a slew of racketeering charges, including ordering 4 murders. One of those murders was the hit on Paul Castellano. Gotti and Gravano were both denied bail.
While Sammy and John were still in prison together, they were both ruminating on ways of getting out of jail. Sammy Gravano gave the suggestion that perhaps they could break out by scaling down bed sheets. And John Gotti thought he was crazy.